Your online genius here. Welcome to today's Facebook Live. We are continuing our week where we're talking about course creation and legal issues that arise in the context of course creation. Today, we're going to be focusing on a couple of issues. These are kind of things that you need to make sure you don't do wrong. It's to avoid stepping on other people's rights here is what we're going to be talking about. It has to do with naming your course and getting the right images. So we'll talk about that in today's lesson. Before we get to the lesson, though, I wanted to remind you who I am. I am an online entrepreneur and an intellectual property lawyer. I have my business, Your Online Genius, which is directed at helping online entrepreneurs who are trying to build their platform and then leverage it to do that and to do it right and to protect themselves while they're doing it. I see a lot of mistakes along the way, and you know, I've seen them in my legal practice where people make mistakes at the outset because they can't afford a lawyer. And so they're kind of doing it themselves, but they don't have the right information. So Your Online Genius is all about providing that information to online entrepreneurs to make sure that they have the information they need and can get the information they need to actually do things right. So that's what this is all about. Again, we're in our theme week about course creation this week. I hope you've enjoyed the other lessons about course creation, which have talked about some other issues you need to be thinking about. But today, like I said, we're going to talk about making sure that you don't do something where you step on someone else's rights that could get you in trouble. And there's two different issues we're going to talk about. One is picking the name for your course, and the other one is picking the images to use in your course. So let's start with the naming issue. This is an issue that actually pervades lots of different areas of your business. It's not specific to your course, but it's, you know, it definitely applies to your course. You need to think about it for your course as well. And it has to do with what's called trademark law. Trademark law basically says the first person, the first company who goes out there and starts using a name, a logo, a slogan in commerce gets protection for that name, slogan, image, etc. So when you name your course, you can't name it the same thing as another course that's already out there. So again, let's just say, you know, there was a course out there that says, you know, that's like list building for lawyers, you know, and someone had been using that. No one else had been using it, or you know, legal domination list building or something of that nature. You couldn't use the same name. Now, there are some people who are out there who would intentionally use the same name to try to confuse people. Now, if you're watching this, I would hope you're not one of those people. I hope the people who would intentionally try to trade off of someone else's brand aren't following me. But if you are, stop it. I mean, seriously, stop it. You can't do that. It's the equivalent of picking somebody's pocket. Not cool. Don't do it. But in reality, the way this actually comes up isn't about people intentionally doing it. It comes up because people don't do their due diligence. And due diligence is kind of fancy lawyer talk for doing the research and making sure that you can do it. And so what you need to do is once you come up with a course name, you need to make sure that someone else isn't already offering a course under that name. And also make sure that you're not taking a brand name from someone else and using someone else's brand name as your course name, where you could have confusion. Again, in the space where you are, it depends on where you are, but a lot of brand names are actually nowadays, for thought leaders especially, are just their name, right? I mean, so you think of the big name people, their brand name is their name. It's not the case for everybody. I mean, you can think of exceptions where people came to fame based upon a different brand and they still have that brand. But a lot of the big name folks, it's just their name. So that's not as big of an issue, but you have to think about it. So what do you need to do? Well, actually, let me back up. If you don't think about it, and if you start using someone else's name without doing it intentionally, but you've been using it, you're going to be using that. You're going to be selling the course. You're going to be going along your way. And then at some point in the future, if you are successful, you're going to get what's called a cease and desist letter. The reason that's going to happen is the person who had the name first is going to find out about you. And I always like to make this clear to people. When you first launch, most people aren't going to know about you. And so the trademark holder probably isn't going to know about you. But what's going to happen is you will get big eventually. And you'll get big eventually if you're successful And once you do that, you're going to come on to, the radar screen of the person who already has a trademark, right? I mean, the whole purpose of what you're doing is building your platform, building your megaphone so that other people hear about you. And once you've done that, the trademark holder will hear about it. And at that point, they're going to come after you and they're going to say, hey, no, you can't use my name. That's my name, not your name. Again, I mean, I would be protective of it if I all of a sudden, 2 years from now find out that someone is using Your Online Genius. I mean, look, they can't do that. I built that out as my brand. I'm not being selfish about it, but I'm going to put a lot of time. I'm already putting a lot of time, and I'm going to continue to put a lot of time, effort, money, etc., into building the goodwill in that. And so I'm entitled to use it. And so if you run afoul of this, the person who holds the trademark eventually will hear about you. And once they do, they're going to send you what's called a cease and desist letter. And a cease and desist letter is basically a nasty gram from someone like me that says, hey, we own that, stop it. Cease and desist from using that name any further. It'll make other demands. It'll demand probably that you pay them something for the value you've already gotten out of it. But again, even if they are not demanding that you pay for it, at that point, they are going to demand that you take the course down or completely rebrand it. And think about that, especially if you have a course where you have, again, we almost all give perpetual access to people. All of a sudden, you're going to have to, like, on a dime, turn around and rebrand the whole thing. And rebrand the whole thing means you got to change, like, re-record all your slides, all your slide screen flows. You got to re-record everything. Think about how much work is going to be involved in doing that. It's going to be a pain, and it's going to cause some problem for your existing students. So it's so easy to, switch and rebrand a course, I think, as you probably recognize. So you need to be especially vigilant in choosing your name. So the next question you're probably asking yourselves, okay, great, you've convinced me that I need to do this, but how do I do it? Well, there's a couple things you should do. Trademark rights come up from use. So merely someone starting to use it gives them protection, but they can also register it. And you register it here in the United States with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, or the USPTO. You can go onto the USPTO website, which is at uspto.gov. And at that website, there's a tab for trademarks. And then inside of the trademark tab, there's a system called TESS, T-E-S-S. And that's where you can search for registered trademarks and trademark applications. So if you went there and searched for Your Online Genius, you would find my trademark application. So you can do that for the name. And go there, search your name. But don't just search the exact name. So for example, when I was starting Your Online Genius, picking my name for it, I didn't just search Your Online Genius as a phrase. I also searched for Online Genius, because you could see how someone who had a brand, if someone just had a brand that was called Online Genius and it was related to what I did, and then I just tried to say, well, I'm Your Online Genius, they might object, because the standard for trademark is, will consumers be confused about which brand it is? Okay, so you have to search a little bit broader than your specific name. And the trademark system at the USPTO, you need to basically just kind of search variables, search similar names, and see if anything comes up. Hopefully nothing comes up, but you should keep going through potential names until nothing comes up. The second place you need to go is Google. And Google is a great tool, because luckily Google is smart and searches for variations of your name. So enter your name and see if anything comes up. And you got to go multiple pages deep. You got to keep going, keep going. Make sure you're not finding anything. If you're not finding anything in Google or the USPTO system, you're probably in good shape. The last thing I would do, though, you need to check for a couple of things. One, you need to check for social media and domain names. And this is part business, but it's also partly a sign of, if all of the social media handles and domain names are gone, that might be a sign that someone's already using the name. You can do it individually, but I would suggest that people use a service like Namevine, where you enter it once and it searches for the domain, but then also I think searches 8, 9, I don't remember how many of the social media networks, and will tell you if the name is available. So if you go through that whole process and it's clean, you should be in pretty good shape and know that your course name you've chosen is a winner. So That's the naming part. That's what you need to do. Make sure someone's not using the name already before you launch. This is a must. You have to do it. And if you already have a course out there and you didn't do this, again, what I would tell you is you're going to be better off searching now and finding out. Because if you find out that someone before you had launched under the same name, it'd be better for you to rebrand now before you get that nasty letter, because you can take a little more time to do it, right? You can do it at your own pace, not boom, I got to be done today. And so that's what I would tell you on your name. Even if you didn't do it at the outset and you have a course, get it done now. Sooner is better than later on this one. Period, full stop. Okay, so that's the naming issue. Now let's talk about the image issue. The image issue, again, this is an issue that comes up in course creation, that comes up in a lot of other places in your business too. So I want to talk about that for a second. Basically, when I'm talking about images, what I'm talking about is making sure that you're not infringing the copyright in an image. So copyright law gives everyone the right, I mean, the original creator has the sole and exclusive right to make a copy of any creative work. Okay. And so that includes an image, a picture. So that means that the person who took the picture is the only person who, or person who took it, or whoever they transfer that right to, is the only one who can give you or anyone else permission to use it on your website, on your course, anywhere else in your business. Okay. And so what you have to do is find images that you can license. And what you want to be looking for in this, well, let me actually talk about what you can't do. You can't just go to Google Images, find one you like, right click, save image as, and then use it on your course. That is almost certainly going to be copyright infringement, because you were using an unlicensed image. And if you do it, a place, for example, like Getty Images, which is a very expensive top of the line service, is going to send you a letter demanding that you pay them thousands of dollars for using the image. So you don't want to do that. What you need to do is find a place where you can get what's called a royalty-free license. Okay, now royalty-free doesn't mean it's free. What royalty-free means is you get that right up front and you never have to pay anything else. So sometimes royalty-free images are free. There are sites where you can go, Pexels, Pixabay, lots of places like that where they're free sites. It's free images where it's free and you don't have to give any attribution. So you don't have to put a caption on the image. So those are free sites. But there are some places where you also will have to pay in one form or another to get access to royalty-free images. So I now use, it used to be a graphic stock, now I think it's Storyblocks is the name. And there you pay an annual fee or a monthly fee. And with that single fee, you get access to their entire library of royalty-free images. So again, that's another source you can go. There are other places, and sometimes it's going to come, you know, look, if you really want a signature image, you may want to use a service where you pay for an individual image. So there's places like Shutterstock where you can get it. And they're relatively affordable images there, but you pay per image. There's also, though, the high-end places, the Getty Images. Again, you can choose how much you want to spend, but the important part is that wherever you go, make sure you're getting a royalty-free license to use the image, and look at what that means. So again, when you look at paid places like Shutterstock and Getty, they will have different licenses based upon things like, you know, are you going to use it just online or are you going to use it offline? How many visitors are going to see it? All of those kinds of things. So you need to read the fine print of the licenses and figure out which license you need if you are going to go that route. But so that's what you need with images, and only use images that you have a license for. Otherwise, again, you're courting potentially getting a letter where they demand payment, or could demand that you take the image off. And they might demand both. And they might demand payment for every time it's been viewed. So again, you just don't want to get in that mess. And candidly, if you were using an unlicensed image and you came to me at that point, there's not much I can do. I mean, I'll listen to you. I'll say, well, that sucks, but I can't help you. I mean, I can't help you avoid having to pay a fee to these people. So you need to make sure that you're not making that mistake so that you avoid having to pay money down the line. So again, today we talked about two issues. We talked about picking a name, which is all about trademark. Make sure no one else is using the name or hasn't filed to register it. And the second one is picking images, and that's all about picking the right, or getting licensed images, not unlicensed images. So you need to do that in your course creation, but also think about these in bigger picture, in your brand development, in your business generally. You need to follow this advice, but it definitely applies to course creation. That's it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be back with a very important lesson, which is going to be about the terms of service and why you need them, what you need to do to make sure that they're going to be, held enforceable, and all of those things, what you need to put in. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. It's a really important lesson. I suggest that you are here for that. Until then, if you want to get some more information about mistakes generally that entrepreneurs are making, I have a free cheat sheet which covers the 4 biggest mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs making over and over again in their business. And these are the kinds of things that could potentially devastate your business or doom you down the line if you make them. So you can get that cheat sheet at mistakes.youronlinegenius.com. Again, it's mistakes.youronlinegenius.com. Until tomorrow, I'm wishing you a good day, and we'll be back with another lesson about course creation then. Until then, see you later.